My wife saved my life while I was in a drug-fueled depression, but now I found out how she paid for it. The weight of the silence in our living room was heavier than the year I spent staring at the walls. I was holding Alina's phone, my thumb hovering over a gallery of images that didn't look like the woman I married. For 12 months, I had been a ghost in my own home. After my construction business collapsed due to my spiraling addiction, I hit a rock bottom so deep I forgot what sunlight felt like. I spent a year doing nothing but eating, sleeping, and drowning in a clinical depression that made moving my limbs feel like lifting lead. Alina was my anchor. She was the one who sat by my bed, the one who found the psychiatrist that finally cleared the fog in my head, and the one who somehow kept the lights on and the fridge full when I didn't have a cent to my name. I thought she was a saint. I thought she had saved me out of pure, sacrificial love. But as my mind cleared and the medication started to work, the reality of our life started to feel off. Alina was always in the other room. At 2 a.m., I'd wake up and see the blue light of her phone glowing under the door of the guest bedroom. She'd take long walks at odd hours, claiming she just needed to breathe after the stress of taking care of me. One evening, while she was in the kitchen rendering fat for dinner, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a habit from my days of paranoia, but I picked it up. Her messages were clean, too clean, like they'd been scrubbed. But when I opened the hidden folder in her photo gallery, my heart stopped. It wasn't just a few suggestive selfies. It was hundreds of explicit videos, professional-grade intimate photos, and screenshots of bank transfers from names I didn't recognize. I didn't even wait for her to finish cooking. I walked into the kitchen and laid the phone on the counter next to the onions she was chopping. She didn't scream. She didn't even look surprised. She just put the knife down, wiped her hands on her apron, and looked me dead in the eye. I asked her who these men were and why she was selling herself to strangers. Her voice was flat, devoid of the warmth she'd shown me for years. Alina told me, while you were busy staring at the ceiling and wasting away, the mortgage didn't stop. Your doctors didn't work for free. The pills that fixed your brain cost more than our groceries. She explained that when the savings ran out 3 months into my breakdown, she was faced with a choice. Let us go homeless or use the only asset she had left that could generate cash fast. She started small, but the money was addictive. By the time I was awake again, she was making $20,000 a month. It wasn't just a survival tactic anymore, it was a business. I felt a wave of nausea hit me, a mix of intense guilt for being the reason she started, and a burning betrayal that she was still doing it. I told her I was better now, that I could find work, that we could go back to being normal. I begged her to delete the accounts and stop the late-night chats with clients who talked to her like she was an object. But Alina just laughed, a bitter, sharp sound that echoed off the kitchen tiles. She told me I spent a year being a nurse, a maid, and a provider for a man who couldn't even wash his own face. I'm not going back to being broke just to protect your ego. I'm making more in a week than you made in a month at the height of your business. The shift in her personality was terrifying. The woman who had gently brushed my hair while I cried in bed was gone, replaced by someone who looked at me like a debt that had finally been settled. She told me she had no intention of stopping. She liked the power, she liked the clothes she could now buy without asking, and she liked the security of knowing she'd never have to rely on a man again. I realized that while she was fixing me, I had broken something in her that might never be repaired. She had traded her privacy and our intimacy to pay for my survival, and now she was keeping the change. Now, I'm living in a house paid for by the fantasies of 1,000 strangers. Every time we sit down to dinner, I wonder which of the items on the table were bought with a video I'll never see. I'm healthy now, I'm sober, and I'm present. But I'm living with a stranger who views our marriage as a transaction. I want to leave, but how do you walk away from the person who dragged you out of the grave, even if the shovel she used was covered in filth? I'm caught in a loop of gratitude and disgust, watching my wife get ready for work in the next room, knowing that the price of my life was the soul of our relationship.